Well, as we told you earlier, airlines this morning are being ordered to speed up inspections of 737s. The added urgency comes after initial inspections found some problems on two planes. Now, the issue originally came to light last week after this. It was a fire and explosion on a China Airlines 737. Unbelievable that most people escaped completely unharmed from this plane. But investigators say that what caused that spectacular explosion was a bolt that came loose and punched a hole in the fuel tank. Joining us now to talk more about this is aviation safety analyst Todd Curtis. Todd, thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I think people were already worried yesterday, and this certainly isn't going to make them feel any better. So far, they've done these inspections, and they found faulty bolts on two planes. If someone's flying today, should they be concerned if the plane that they're in is a 737?
They shouldn't be concerned because this is a problem that was actually caught very early by the Japanese authorities. It was communicated very quickly to authorities, including the FAA, and they're doing the prudent actions of making sure that every aircraft of these types are inspected very quickly.
And see, that's interesting. You say it was caught by the Japanese authorities. So if we hadn't had that incident with that China Airlines, would we have not known about it? Would the FAA have not known about this potential safety problem?
Well, actually, the FAA did know about this problem quite some time ago. As early as December of 2005, Boeing released what's called a service bulletin, which was a notice to airlines that there was a potential problem with that part of the aircraft. So this was an interest item well before the event in Japan.
Okay, so how does this work then? If they put out some sort of notice in 2005 and there we see the plane on fire in 2007, what's the missing link?
Well, the big difference between what happened in the last few days with the FAA and what happened almost a year and a half ago is that the airworthiness directive is mandatory. That is, the airlines had to inspect every airplane by a very short amount of time, in this case 10 days from yesterday's announcement, whereas the service bulletin did not have that authority to force them to look at the airplanes.
All right, so what I'm wondering, is the FAA doing enough here in your opinion? Why not just ground the planes for the number of days it takes to make sure all these bolts are tightened?
Well, the problem in this case is not something which by itself would lead to the airplane burning up, as the case in Japan. There actually has to be a series of things going wrong before something pretty catastrophic happens. And so long as one link of the chain is taken out, in this case the boat coming loose, there won't be a problem with the aircraft, and there's not going to be a safety issue for passengers.
Can you just explain, when we look at this video, what had to have happened here? Because you say it was sort of like a perfect storm, if you will. What happened there?
Well, without going into great detail, the slats are at the leading edge of the wing, and there is an assembly within the slats that's held down by bolt, nut, and other assemblies. And in this case, and there was a photograph on the Japanese authorities' website, the bolt had come loose, and when the slat retracted, the mechanism pushed that bolt through the skin of the area where the slat was, and behind that skin was a fuel tank. Thus we had the fuel leak, there was an ignition source, and we had the fire and the explosion.
All right, well, they're trying to rectify the situation, doing this with all, I think about 800 Boeing 737s here in the U.S. and about 2,200 across the world. Dr. Todd Curtis, aviation safety analyst, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up now to